Last one.
Last one.
Right here. And 3, 2, 1. Welcome to the very last segment 5 of our South Dakota Summer Camp staff training videos. Thanks again for watching all these videos. You've made it to the end. We've just got a few minutes left and some things we want to hit.
It's been a marathon, but I think the finish line is in sight.
My coffee's gone. I'm ready to be done. I bet you guys are too. But we've got this whole video series. We've been talking about all these things you need to know and things you need to do. Now, in this segment, we're going to be touching on what not to do. There's some expectations for you as a guide, as a leader at camp, of what not to do at camp time. So, Pastor Dave, why don't you go over a few of those rules or expectations for the staff about what not to do?
Sure. First and foremost, we expect our staff to stay on the grounds at all times. We don't want any staff leaving the grounds because this leaves us short-handed. This leaves us missing missing times of connection with campers. We realize that it's a week. We realize that some are taking vacation time. They're taking time away from work. But we really encourage our staff as much as possible to really be prepared to kind of go off the grid, so to speak. There's no cell service out there. We don't want our staff out there bringing their wireless devices and trying to do email the whole time, because that takes away from the purpose what they're there to do for at camp. And so again, there's some that want to hop off the grounds. They want to go tour the Black Hills. They want to go in town and do laundry. There's been many reasons. Now there are some legitimate reasons, and the assistant director and the director are the only ones who give approval for staff to leave the grounds. We simply need to know where our leaders are, who's responsible. If a leader's gone, someone has to be responsible for their campers. Yeah. And so we know that our staff are not coming in thinking that, oh, hey, this is going to be a vacation. This is going to be, it's going to be a pretty intense week. And so we want all hands on deck. And so we just ask that nobody go wandering off looking for cell service or trying to hunt a mountain lion. We need everyone at the camp.
Although you got to admit, that'd be pretty cool if somebody caught a mountain lion.
Yeah.
And that could be your team mascot or something.
Well, and we'd probably have to make another segment for the video next year if that happened. So.
Right. All right, so don't leave the grounds. If you need to, there's special permission that can be asked for those kinds of things. What are some of the other things in regards to relationships with the campers? Yeah,
we really stress with our staff not to be alone with a camper, not to be alone in a cabin, not to be alone with a camper out on a walk, not, even if they are from your church, we just want to avoid any possibility for any type of claim or accusation or anything like that. So we ask that our campers not be alone. So that means that, if you're back in the cabin, make sure that there's, other campers there. Make sure that you're not doing anything that could be maybe misinterpreted, especially at kids camp. Imagine you're a kid away from home, maybe for the first time at camp. And there's a leader there, and how intimidating that might be to have that leader just there in the cabin. They're kind of, some of these cabins aren't the biggest places, and so we wouldn't want to put a camper in a situation where maybe they're feeling threatened or maybe they're just uncomfortable. Again, not implying that anything's happening. Right. Here's another example, and we get this question a lot. Especially for the guys, it's no big deal to just kind of change wherever, but we've got to be very cautious with that. And so we ask that we don't have, even when it comes to changing, that those guides, they go and find one of the, bathhouses or whatever and do their changing in private, again, just so that there wouldn't even be a possibility for an accusation or some type of claim. So just for everybody's safety, for everyone's protection, we don't want any campers and guides alone.
And I think the thing to keep in mind there too is especially if you have a good relationship with some of the people, maybe they're kids from your church, you can get into a joking around kind of thing, and
Sure.
and you're roughhousing, or you're doing some of those things, and it's no big deal, and even to the kids, it's no big deal. But I think you always have to think, how could this be taken?
Yeah,
How
exactly.
could this look if their parent was here and saw this, or if the student went home and only told half the story?
Exactly.
What would they think? And
Exactly.
so you really have to be careful and just thinking through things. And it's not to scare you. It's not to handcuff you in any of that way. But just be thinking through and be processing that. It's not your college buddies you're hanging out with. It's not another adult leader. It's kids, and they're, for the most part, except for maybe some of our seniors, they're all underage kids, and we just want to be very responsible with that what has been given to us. I mean, these students are entrusting their kids to us for a week, and we just really have to think that through and be smart.
Yeah. And that leads perfectly into one of the next no-nos, and that is we do not allow any pranking, any practical joking of any kind, because what we've found is that the adults, if there's some adult leaders that think something up and carry it out, well, then it becomes this game of one-upmanship, and we got to outdo the people that did it before, and sometimes those things that seem funny to us may not be that funny to a camper. And we may be used to things that happened when we were at camp. Maybe you got into the wedgie fight, or somebody got a swirly, whatever, and we just they seem innocent and they seem fun. But we can't have it, because again, it can be misinterpreted. It can like you mentioned before. It's those things that we don't want to short circuit what's happening in that. Remember that spiritual environment that we're trying to create. One of the easiest ways to short circuit that is through pranks and different things that cause that camper to go home, and instead of talking about what God did in their lives, they're talking about how one leader choked out another leader, thinking it would be funny. Or one year a camper came home, and they were they told their parents that one of the things they learned was from their guide was how to punch someone in their leg to make them feel like their leg was numb. Yeah, right, dead legs or something. And it seems fun, and it seems like no big deal, right. But again, where do we want the focus to be? We want that focus to be, we want them to have a great time. We want it to be a well-rounded week where they're connecting on a vertical level with God, but where they're connecting also horizontally with other campers, with their leaders. And we just don't, that's why we don't allow pranks.
And going back to,
and just for safety's sake as well.
I was going to say, going back to our second segment, we talked about the camp goals.
Yeah.
Goal number 4 was safety.
Exactly.
And even though the thing you're doing might not injure or hurt the student, they're safe. We want to create a safe environment where they feel like they're safe, where they feel like they're not going to get picked on. They feel, because like you were saying, those jokes can be taken the wrong way.
Sure.
And that kid could feel like they're being bullied, and that just shuts them down for the whole week.
And that could even go as far as, again, you're out on the rec field, and there's a leader that really wants to get everybody fired up, and so they kind of go military drill instructor style, and they're getting their camper's face, and they're, come on, and we just need to be conscious about that and be careful with that. What may seem like no big deal to one camper could really have an adverse effect on another camper.
Now, at kids camp, this probably isn't a big issue.
Right.
But middle school camp, high school camp, you got some cute girls, you got some cute guys, fireworks start happening. This isn't dating camp.
That's right. That's right.
How do we handle that
stuff?
What's the expectation?
It's a policy for our campers that there's no public display of affection. There might be campers that come and they want to hold hands and hang out and kiss and do all that, and maybe they come on as boyfriend and girlfriend. Well, that's fine, but we don't want to see that. Again, because there's others who are around that, and it's just not the environment that we're going for. In the same way, we certainly don't want that environment amongst our leaders. And there may be some young men and women, ladies, college age, what have you, and what we try to really emphasize is this: you're not here at camp to find your future spouse. Now, could you meet someone that becomes your future spouse? Could you meet them at camp? Well, sure, but we don't want that to be the place where that relationship is worked on, or we don't want that to be the intent. Again, we want the focus to be there for the camper, and so we have a no dating policy, no PDA policy for the campers, but also for the staff as well.
So for single or dating students, single or dating staff,
sure,
we're saying no PDA. Now, when you say we don't want to see that, we don't mean go find a place to hide.
That's exactly
and
right.
Have PDA.
That's exactly right.
Yeah, PDA being private displays of affection. We
don't
want you to do that, but just X-nay on all of it. We don't need that.
And we know that there will be married couples that are there, and one of the opportunities for our married couples is to show healthy interaction and affection, and so we're not gonna tell a husband and wife not to sit together or not to hold hands, or, those things that we believe that's appropriate. It needs to stay appropriate, and but we want to be mindful of that.
Well, we've covered a bunch of different rules and things like that, and sometimes you get buried down in these rules, and sometimes the staff, the leadership can get just caught up in it, and it just begins to be frustrating for them, and sometimes we get even some bad attitudes from leaders.
Sure.
What's the policy on that kind of thing?
Well, we just simply say no complaining, and if you do have a complaint, don't let your campers hear it. If you have an issue, take it to one of the executive team, or if it's something that we can address down the road, maybe you leave some feedback on our staff evaluation form. But we realize that the temperature setter at our camp is the staff, and so if the staff don't like the food,